Again, you're right. I thought I'd do another quick stream ahead of tomorrow's deadline. It's like 1 o'clock tomorrow. So yeah, as is a way as mentioned before. But I thought I'd do a quick review of my team, where I am, and some of the thoughts that I've got going into game week 19, because it's coming thick and fast. So thank you for subscribing. Because if you subscribe, you probably got the short notice alert that I was going to do this. I did say it was going to be short notice. So thank you for the 25 that joined me so far. I did put a tweet out, so perhaps some more will join later on. But this is the easiest way for me to do a video. I don't like doing pre-recorded stuff. Whenever Az and I do pre-recorded stuff, it takes us an age to do it because we always make mistakes and it's terrible. So I thought just do a live stream, and then this can be out there ahead of tomorrow's deadline for those who want to watch it back when they've got more time. Thank you for those who are joining me. I see a few. I see Trigger Lips in. Hey Nick, how you doing? Focal's in. FPL Bantam, Barry Coleman, Static, Juba's in there. Daniel B, GC, Indy, Focal. I see Oscar. You were watching the darts on one screen and me on the other. Thanks for doing that. Although don't put any dart spoilers in the chat, because I am recording the chat and I'm recording the darts and I want to watch it later. I've already spoiled the afternoon session. So please, no dart spoilers in the chat if you can help do that. I will try and pick out some questions, although I did find when I did the solo stream the other day, it's really hard. It's really hard to keep an eye on chat whilst talking. Much easier when Az is about and I can ignore him and just look at the comments. I see Simon's in there. Hey, Simon, Daniel, Sam Vines, Johnny Tingate, Omar Khan, Tariq. Thank you for joining me on this Saturday evening ahead of tomorrow's deadline. I hope your Christmas was great. I had a very nice, quiet family Christmas. Really enjoyed the game week. So let me talk about that next. The title is Eagle Eyed. That's because we're going to be talking about Crystal Palace assets. I think they're certainly on my mind, and I think a few others out there. I watched Nick's stream earlier today, and he was talking about getting Sarr in. Didn't get to the end of that, Nick, so I watched that before I go to bed, but I saw you talking about Sarr, and I know that I watched Praz's team selection. He's looking at Munoz as well, so I think I'm not alone in looking at Crystal Palace assets ahead of game week 19. Let's have a quick look at my game week low, because I did all right, and I don't want to be gloaty, but yeah, I'm happy with this, but I'm not gloaty really, because it could have been a lot better, because I sold Kuna, didn't I, for Gabriel Jesus, which obviously, had I kept Kuna, I would have been even better off than the 77 points that I got. Did bring Bowen and Trent in. Trent let me down. Bowen delivered. But with Jesus coming in as well for a hit, I was about 10 points down. So although it was a great game week in terms of it was another rank gain, I'm up to like 196k now, which I'm really pleased with. It could have been so much better. I could have been in the 80s, which would have been an outstanding game week, and got me even higher up the ranks. But, you know, Jesus will hopefully still deliver for me. Trent will hopefully still deliver for me. And Bowen did his bit in this game week. So it's Flecken with the 3 points, Trent with the 2, Gabriel 6. Timber came in with a bonus. Now, I was touch and go whether I was going to start Timber, because I really felt when I showed the team on the last solo stream I did, Timber was on the bench, Kirkez was starting. That's because I felt that Timber might get benched by Arteta. I guess with the Saka injury, it became less likely because he's so important on that side. And I guess too much change there with Martinelli starting. They weren't going to play Partey out there as well, which I thought could be the option. Now, they might do it this week at Brentford, but I don't know. Having watched Timber and how important he is to them on that side, particularly with Saka not there now, I just don't see it. I'll look at my Game Week 19 team in a minute. But yeah, I played Timber. Very pleased I did, because he got the free bonus as well, which was very nice. Bowen with the 8, Salah, captain with the 18. Gordon came in again, got the goal at last. He had been threatening it, got a couple of assists since I got him in. Then he delivered the goal in the first few minutes, but then went quiet. I think he still got man of the match, though, I saw. So he's playing really well. Newcastle playing really well. Very happy to have Gordon. And if you are selling Bruno this week, we'll touch on that in a bit. Gordon's got to be in your thinking, I think, along with Sarr. Palmer 10 did outscore Salah, but I went with Salah with the captaincy. We'll talk a little bit about the captaincy later. Jesus with the 2 really only had one chance. I mean, I'm not going in too hard on Jesus. It was a fail because I should have kept Kuna. So I can't say it was a success, but you know, obviously there's still time. I think Jesus will still be think he'll start at Brentford and can still be good for me because he is a differential at the moment, which he won't be. I imagine if he does well at Brentford and then Kuna gets his ban, I imagine Jesus will be popular again. But for now, yeah, I'm going to go easy on him, even though he failed to really impress against Ipswich. I think Arsenal overall really struggled to break them down. It was the first time I think Ipswich played 3 at the back this season. So that was a surprise. I didn't expect them to do that. And it's interesting. I think we're at the stage of the season now where we're going to see certainly Ipswich and Southampton going to play a lot more pragmatic, a lot more defensive. I didn't expect it really from McKenna's side at Arsenal. I guess going to the Emirates is one place where you could forgive it. Don't know if they're going to go that way from now on. They're obviously playing Chelsea this weekend. It'd be interesting. I imagine they'll go back to the back 4. But yeah, Arsenal struggled, didn't they, to break them down? The 3 at the back and the 2 wing backs. And for a while I thought it wasn't going to come at all. But they got the goal in the first half, played a little bit better in the second, created some half chances, but not major chances. And Jesus just had that one effort that was offside in the first half. Havertz with the tap in. But I'm okay. I think we need to give Arsenal time. They're going to take time to adjust without life without Saka, of course. I think it's interesting that they're playing Havertz and Jesus close to each other, and I think he'll keep doing that. But we'll see. I mean, the games come thick and fast for Arsenal. They've got Brentford obviously coming up, and then they go to Brighton, and then 2 or 3 days later they've got Newcastle in the League Cup semi. So it'll be interesting to see what Arteta does with his resources, because looking at the bench against Ipswich, didn't really have much in the way of attacking options. So I don't know how much he's going to flog Jesus and Havertz over this 3 or 4 game run. I wonder when the rest will come with Jesus. I think it will, but it's hard to read at the moment. I don't think it will come for Brentford. Anyway, he's staying for now. Isak, 8 points, and Evan Nilsson 1. Disappointed. He got the rest against Palace when I expected him to get it at Old Trafford. So, I was a bit surprised that Unai started. He only got the hour. Evan Nilsson came on, and Evan Nilsson will now start at Fulham. Although, when we look at my team in a minute, I probably won't be starting him. So, yeah, 77 up to 196. Really pleased with that. Could have been a whole lot better. Kicking myself for selling Kuna. No idea when that ban's going to come. Really interesting. I really thought it would be by now. Looks as though he's going to start the Spurs game. Could inflict damage on them and do further damage to me. Why did I say this? It's a bit foolish, really. I should have kept him because that was a differential, because no one's going to Kuna at this point with the ban over the top of his head, looming there. And I should have kept him because obviously his form is really strong. Wolves under the new manager look like they're in a mini revival, and they're playing defences that are going to give up chances. I didn't expect United to be quite so bad in that game, to be fair. And also, scoring from a corner, yeah, I guess if you've got to say that was a very fortunate goal, but he did play well throughout the game. So I'll come on to some of the questions and some of the topics, like Bruno, like the goalkeeper situation in a minute. But I think it's best probably just to look at my team and talk about what I'm doing for Gameweek 19. Flecken, I was toying with getting rid of Flecken, moving him this game week. He could be injured. I suspect he will make it. He's got that little bit of extra time because Arsenal and Brentford don't play till Wednesday, till New Year's Day, which is a bit odd. I don't know what kind of New Year's Eve those teams are going to have. Presumably very quiet one. I think Flecken could make it. I think if Valdemarsson starts, that's okay. I'm not expecting anything really other than a few save points out of whoever's in goal for Brentford. I do think Arsenal will score at least a couple of goals. I think they will win this game. So there won't be a clean sheet for Brentford. I could use my transfer to move my goalkeeper out. And we'll talk about the candidates for that in a minute. For those who have got Flecken and Fabianski, really bad luck if you have those options and you're looking for a keeper. I'll talk about my thoughts on that in a bit. But for now, I'm gonna stick with the goalkeeper because obviously Valdemarsson will come in if Flecken doesn't make it anyway. I don't know. I think I'm going to use my transfer elsewhere. As it is, the team without the transfer will be Trent, Gabriel, and Timber, Bowen, Rodgers, Salah, Gordon, Palmer, Jesus and Isak with Evanilson, Kirkes and Hall on the bench. The free transfer is likely to be Kirkes to Munoz, and then Bowen will be benched to first sub, and Munoz will play in a back four. I have thought of other options. There was a bit of me that was thinking about selling Timber because Arsenal's run coming up, it's pretty tough. They could easily concede against Brentford. I don't think they will, but I think they could easily concede against Brentford, who obviously at home have been fantastic up until the Forest game. Then they play Brighton, Spurs and Villa. And I think clean sheets in that run, before I looked at the data, I looked at those 4 games and thought, how many clean sheets are Arsenal going to get there? And perhaps the option will be to sell Timber. And then I was looking at possibly getting Munoz in for Timber and using the money to go Evanilson to Mateta for a hit. Because I obviously like the Palace fixture at home to Southampton in game week 19. Now, I've decided not to do that and just going back to my team. What I will do is just the one transfer as it stands as of, was it 10 o'clock? Yeah. So we've got a few hours for me to change my mind, but I don't think I will. Munoz is coming in definitely, and we'll talk about the data behind that in a minute. And I'm going to hold Timber. And the reason why I'm going to hold Timber is just looking at that Arsenal defence and looking at the last 6 data. So this is updated now with 18's data in. That Arsenal defence, as you see here, is just so far ahead of every other defence out there. Over the last 6, 0.66 XG conceded non-penalty. The other key stat here is they're only conceded an average of 7.17 shots per 90 over the last 6. I think over the season they are the best defence as well. They are 0.89 XG non-penalty per 90, but it's got better. And the home data as well is ridiculous. So I look at that 4 fixture run again that Arsenal have got: Brentford, Brighton, Spurs, Villa, and let's face it, those 4 teams, they're not sparkling, are they? Brentford, okay, they lost to Forest. Forest defence is very strong. They went to Brighton and they made some chances, but again, they didn't score. And if you look at the attack last 6, let's bring that up. It's not great. Brentford, the only team other than the relegation candidates, well, Fulham, Leicester, Southampton and Brentford are the only teams currently over the last 6 matches to generate fewer than 10 shots. Now, that's a drop-off. I wasn't expecting to see that. So they're 11th on this data over the last 6 for XG non-penalty per 90. And a lot of that, I think, has got to do with Frank's tactics away from home. I've seen them go to Fulham, seen them go to Everton, and seen them go to Brighton and play a little bit more pragmatic, a little bit more defensive, in my opinion. Now, Frank hasn't come out and said that's what he's doing to set up, but I think that's what I've noticed. I think away from home, they're taking fewer chances than they are at the GTEC, understandably. It's away matches. But I think also, they're coming up against teams now at home which have got much stronger defences. Forest was the first one of that. If you look at the fixtures that Brentford have got to come at home, Arsenal, City, Liverpool, Spurs, Everton, Villa, they're playing the better sides. Now, not all those defences are great, but Arsenal certainly is, as we've seen from that data. I think that Brentford may struggle to break Arsenal down like they did Forest. And so I look at these Arsenal fixtures then and think, well, if they keep a clean sheet at Brentford, they can certainly keep a clean sheet at Brighton because they're not firing on all cylinders. And then the home defensive form for Arsenal, I think it's 0.38 XGI over the last 6 home games. So 0.38 XG conceded rather. That's absolutely ridiculous. So at home, it's formidable, that Arsenal defence. So even against Spurs, who obviously are a very strong attacking team, I wouldn't back them. I would back them to maybe keep a clean sheet there. And certainly they can against Villa and they can away at Wolves. So having looked at the data a bit more and having watched them the other night, I'm going to hold the 2 Arsenal defenders, I think. And so it was kind of a change of plan to not take the hit, not get Mateta, and just make the one transfer and hold Timber through this. Now, the caveat here is Timber's got 4 bookings, as has Jesus, so I might have to prepare in game week 20 to be without one or both of them. That's okay. I've got a good enough bench to deal with that, I think. It would mean me playing Bowen at City maybe, which is all right. I mean, West Ham could easily score at City the way City are defending, and maybe it's better to play him there anyway. So even though Timber's got that potential ban coming up, I'm going to hold him. So that really reduced my plans this week to just the one transfer, as I say, and it's going to be Kirkes out for Munoz, and I'll play the back four. And we'll go on to my predictions in a minute, because I've got Az's predictions for the game week as well. I think Arsenal will keep a clean sheet against Brentford. I just think with the injuries Brentford have got, they've got defensive injuries, but I think that is disruptive. And yeah, they can't play the three at the back, so they won't play the 3-5-2. I don't think they can, unless the injuries clear up in time. And I just think the disruption that Brentford have has had an impact on them as an attacking force as well. The data's dropped off a little bit, and I think Arsenal can keep it clean like Forest did at the G-Tech. So I'm going to go with that. So yeah, my team will be 4 at the back. Bowen will drop to the bench, because I've got a feeling that West Ham will struggle to break down Liverpool. Bowen is obviously the most likely, and I might regret that, but the plan was always to bench Bowen for these two and play Rodgers in a 4-man. So I'm going to stick to that. Use a transfer to bring Munoz in. So why is Munoz important? Let's look at defenders last 6 rather than defences last 6. That's midfielders. Here he is. He's gone up the table. Over the last 6 game weeks, he's ranked 3rd for XGI non-penalty per 90 behind Vardiol and Trent. I mean, yeah. That's pretty good company to be keeping. Vardiol is a machine at the moment in terms of goal threat. He is unquestionably a player that we would, under normal circumstances, would be looking at. But because the City defence is so poor in terms of clean sheets, I don't think we're going to outlay the 6 million. But we will certainly outlay 4.7 for Munoz. Now, his price is locked, so he's not going up. But I think he's going to be a very popular transfer for those who can make the transfer this week, who've got the free transfer at hand. So that's my transfer. I think Munoz, I would recommend you bringing him in if you're looking at a defensive transfer. Obviously, you might have to use your transfer elsewhere, because you might be one of those unfortunate owners who had Bruno. And so therefore, you might not have the luxury of using your transfer elsewhere and being able to bench him. Would I sell Bruno? I think I would, because it's Liverpool in game week 20. Yes, it's a good run after that. But I think, to be honest, as I said on the first solo stream, Bruno wasn't my preferred option to replace Saka. I did think that if you signed up for Bruno, you were signing up for the long term. I actually think, in my opinion, the suspension could be a good thing, because now you've got a reason where you can switch Bruno out. And I think the obvious choice would be Ismail Assar. If we bring up the midfielders last 6, he's not riding high here. He's 21st, 0.48 XGI non-penalty per 90. But I think that he would be my option. I said in the stream we did a few days ago that Odegaard was my one-stop shop option if you wanted to go someone for long-term. But then when I watched Arsenal the other night, I don't know what other people felt. I felt that Odegaard was very deep, coming very deep to start moves. Havertz obviously playing centrally and closest to Jesus, and he was obviously the one who scored the goal, got the tap in. Odegaard had chances, but there were chances that he created out of nothing himself. There were shots that he had from range, having weaved his way through. He wasn't finding his way to the edge of the box, or certainly not in the box, getting on the end of crosses from Martinelli or Trossard. I don't think I saw enough from Odegaard there to think that he's going to be a better attacking asset without Saka. In fact, I would say probably less so, because he's going to be prompt in play from a deeper position, I think, based on what I saw. It's one game, it's a small sample, of course, but that's my inkling. And therefore, that leaves me going to Sarr. So I think if you're a Bruno owner and you have to sell, and obviously with the fixtures he's got, if you can ride it through this week, you could play him obviously at Anfield. It's not an easy fixture, but he's been known to produce in that fixture before. And then he's got a great run, Southampton, Brighton, Fulham, Palace. So I guess you'd only send him if you have to, if you're short on numbers this week or short on quality in your squad. If you can get a defensive transfer to Munoz and bench Bruno, I would probably recommend that. But at the same time, I do think that Sarr is going to be the better option. I mean, Palace are top of this ticker. This is the ticker over the next 12. And even discounting the Southampton fixture, which I'll talk about in a bit more in a bit. Yes, Chelsea in 20, but that run from 21 is very, very strong. And I do think the money that getting Sarr frees up will be very, very useful, particularly with the Kuna ban if you own Kuna. It just gives you options. I think the value that Sarr brings over that fixture run is really strong. And I don't know, United, I can't buy into it. I can't sit here and endorse a United asset, even when it was Ahmad, who was obviously very, very cheap. I just didn't see a way in which I could hand on heart say that back a United asset. Bruno is 25th in this table, 0.45, and he is undoubtedly a top or second tier asset. He's not up there with Salah and Palmer, but maybe in the tier below. But I would say there's competition in that area. I would say, I've got Gordon, I've got Bowen. Obviously, those two I prefer. That's why they're in my team. But I do think Sarr probably is in the fourth or third tier, but with those fixtures could easily match or outscore Bruno, I think, in that run. And the money that you free up, the difference in price, it's was it 5.8 to 8.4? I just think that Sarr's a better option. So I think if you have to sell Bruno this week, I maybe don't curse too much the -2. It was a blow for this game week, but it might be that actually moving him out and going to Sarr in the long term could work out better for you in terms of return and what you can do with that money. But I'm also not against holding him given the fixtures that he's got. It's just I don't know. I'm down on United. Forgive me for that, United fans in the chat. It's 600 watching now. That's crazy. We started with just 50 and it's soared up to 600. Thank you for joining me on this ramble. So it's not going to be as long as the last one, but that's my thoughts on Bruno. Move to Sarr would be my advice, but if you hold him, fine. If you can do that, I would certainly prioritise getting Munoz in this week because I just feel that the fixture is good, but also over that run, Munoz is going to offer great value. Let's look at defensive data last 6 just to check in on Palace. Not brilliant. 11th, 1.36. But they have had bad fixtures over the last 6, very tough fixtures over the last 6. And that is obviously flipping considerably over the run that we saw on the ticker. So the fixtures that they've got, I think there are some clean sheets in there for Munoz, but it's attacking qualities. You can play him, I think, at Leicester and West Ham away from home and think that you could get something out of that game in terms of what he brings to the Palace attack. And you're certainly going to play him the home games, Brentford, Everton, Ipswich, Villa. You're going to play him in those matches. So he's an outstanding defensive asset, I think, who offers the upside as well. And getting him in for 19 for Southampton, it makes sense, doesn't it? So, yeah, that'll be my tip. That's what I'm doing. Mateta, I did look at it, as I said, at the start of the stream. I said that one tactic I was looking at was potentially selling Timber and going Mateta. Now, if Jesus gets the ban, he could get the booking at Brentford and then be out for 20. I would be tempted to move to Mateta, even with Mateta playing Chelsea in game week 20, because of the run that he's got. For me, he's one of those assets that hasn't really delivered so far this season. Let's look at his season data, actually, first of all. Is Mateta in here? Yeah, he's down in 28th. Look, 4 goals, 1 assist, 0.34 XGI, non-penalty per 90. Really disappointing. Right down there with the likes of Calvert-Lewin, the likes of Ferguson, Archer, Rodrigo Muniz. Also right down there though with Chris Wood, who's got 10 goals. So you can't read too much into XGI non-penalty per 90, but then Chris Wood's conversion rate is 32.3 and Mateta's been 11.8. So he has disappointed thus far, but I do think the fixtures have been against him, fitness has been against him. And now with the upturn in fixtures and with Glasner, I think, beginning to establish a pattern of play now Eze's back. Eze far from at his best yet, far from fully fit, but I think as Eze's fitness builds up, if he can keep fit, then Eze, Sarr and Mateta will cause problems with those fixtures they got. And I think Mateta will offer value. So if you're making a striker change, then I would certainly consider Mateta this week. But if you're waiting for the Kuna ban, then I think Mateta's got to be an option you consider. Where else would I go? I know that people are looking at Watkins in the short term because of the fixtures that Villa have got, and obviously Duran is out. He'll miss the Brighton and Leicester games. So, yeah, these two home fixtures, very, very strong for Watkins. I'm playing Rodgers over those two for sure. I'm not against that, but I just think that, be prepared to have to change Watkins out when Duran is back available, because Duran will be a threat. I guess we don't know Emery's view on that incident. There's a lot of difference of opinion over whether Duran meant that challenge on Shah. I don't know. I'm sitting on the fence there. I don't think it was deliberate, but there's a lot of people out there who certainly feel it was. So it depends really how Emery feels. He's a young player. He's a hothead. There's no doubt. And Watkins could come in, take his chance and reinstate himself as first choice. But I think there's no doubt that Duran had the shirt up until that incident. So if you're going Watkins, just be prepared that you're going to face some anxiety when the Duran ban comes out. And then, it's going to be the likes of game week 23, West Ham at home, Wolves away in 24, Ipswich at home. You want to take Watkins into that certain of starts, not with Duran looming over him. So I just think Mateta's possibly the best option long term if you're making a striker change. Despite the lack of form that he's shown, there's been glimpses that he's going to come to life. Now, what I would say is that what I tend to do is listen to a lot of fan streams, and if I'm going to buy a player or consider players from a team, I'll go and listen to what their fans are saying on YouTube. And I listened to some of the Bournemouth streams, the Palace streams after the Bournemouth game, rather. And they were saying that Mateta did look gassed after about 30 minutes. So I would say I've got some concerns about the fatigue setting in for Palace ahead of this Southampton game, because they've had to play Mateta, they've had to play Sarr. Eze's coming back to fitness. He came back in the Bournemouth game, so he's not necessarily fully fit yet. Nketiah was out. He was ill at Bournemouth, so he wasn't an option. So there is a little bit of concern in my mind about how much the legs are starting to hurt for those three attacking players. And that has played into my mind when it's come to the prediction for this game. I'm not expecting Palace to run out 3 or 4-0 winners. I've gone 1-0 to Palace. I think they win the game. It could be 2, but I don't think it'll be a rout. I think from what I've seen of Southampton, I said at the start that, like Ipswich, I think they're going into a phase of the season now where they're going to be a lot more pragmatic with the new manager. And I think that they're going to be difficult to break down for Palace. It's not going to be as easy as you would expect. Certainly Palace fans aren't expecting it to be easy. And I think that Palace will win the game, but I'm not expecting a rout. So I'm not sitting here backing Sarr, Mateta thinking they're going to win 4 or 5-0. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think it'll be 1 or 2-0. But obviously that could be enough to get your return from your Palace investment. I don't see Southampton scoring. I think that's the issue for Southampton. If we look at the attacking data, last 6, they're bottom of that, 0.75. And I think they're bottom over the season as well. Well, they're third from bottom, 0.93. So I do feel that the clean sheet is there. Hence, that's why I'm going Munoz. I'm prioritising him over Sarr or Mateta. So yes, just a word of caution there. In my opinion, don't expect a rout there for Palace, because I do think the games, because they had the League Cup game as well, I just think it's taken a lot out of them, and they go into the game against Southampton a little bit tired, according to the Southampton fans. Let's go through my predictions then. Where are they? Let's see. They're here. I've got Aziz as well. So Leicester, Man City is the first kick-off tomorrow, 2:30. I've gone that for the Garden Centre, just because Sunday, 2:30, that's the time you want to hit the Garden Centre, I think. And I don't think this will be a spectacle. I talked about Ipswich and Southampton being a bit more pragmatic from now on. I don't know whether Leicester will. They should be, and they need to be. But obviously when they got Cooper out and they bring Van Nistelrooy in, they were kind of moving away from that defensive, pragmatic football to something a bit more enterprising. Personally, I think it's going to take them down. I think they do need to start trying to prioritise results over more attacking play. I don't think it's going to be too much of a consideration in this game anyway. I think City are going to win. Two teams woefully out of form and woefully low on confidence. I've gone 2-1 and so has Az. I don't think it'll be a good game to watch. Haaland should score. I just don't see how that Leicester defence can keep Haaland quiet. I think he's going to be too much for them. And I think, those who have held Haaland are finally going to get a return from him after the penalty miss last time out. City to win 2-1. Palace Southampton, Az has gone big here. He's gone 3-0. Fair enough. Yeah, it could well be. It's just what I heard from the Palace fans about where they think their team is at after the Bournemouth game. The fact that Nketiah's not been fit to kind of give any kind of degree of rest to Sarr and Mateta makes me think that perhaps this will be more difficult than Palace expect and we expect. I've gone 1-0, Az has gone 3-0. Everton Forest, yeah, I mean, this looks 0-0. And we'll talk about keepers in a bit, but if you are looking at a keeper, then my top two choices are in this game, Pickford and Sells. It easily could be 0-0. I'm obviously biased. In my opinion, it'll be 1-0. I just think that Forest have that extra bit of quality that will mean that they can snatch a goal here. I know Chelsea have gone there and failed to score. I know other teams have gone there and failed to score. But I think if you're an Everton fan, you're going to be expecting Everton to come out a little bit more against Forest. They're not going to be looking at the table and the fact that Forest are third. They're just going to think, well, hold on a minute. Forest were down there with us last year. This isn't a game I expect Everton to pot the bus and give up possession. I would expect Everton to be under some pressure to attack Forest. And I think that will just give us a little bit of space that we need. And I think with Elanga, Hudson-Odoi, Gibbs-White, Wood, we'll have a little bit too much for them. And we'll find a goal. So I've gone 1-0. Fulham Bournemouth, very difficult to predict these two teams. Az has gone 2-1, I've gone 1-0. I think it is a home win. I think Bournemouth are struggling at the moment to get some fluidity back. They've got a small squad, obviously. They rested Evan Nilsson, so he'll come back in fresh. But I think elsewhere, they've got Kluivert suspended, so that's a big blow for them. Tavernier's been out for a while, so he's not back. So they are looking a bit short. And I think Fulham, off the back of the win at Stamford Bridge, will win this one as well. Spurs Wolves, Az has gone 2-1. I've gone 2-2. I think Kuna's going to do it again, isn't he? I mean, the Spurs defence, if we look at the defence last six, they're bottom. They're bottom of the XG conceded non-penalty per 90 over the last six. They're conceding 18 shots. They're conceding 5 big chances per 90, 2.53. I just can't see a way that they keep them out. So I think it'll be a decent game to watch. Spurs could win. It could end up being something like 3-2, 4-2, whatever. But I think Wolves get a couple of goals here because we think, obviously, that Kuna's going to start and he's that little bit of quality that can make the difference for them. West Ham, Liverpool, Az has gone 2-1. I've gone 2-0. I think West Ham will struggle to break them down. I think that again, it's the legs. They've got a small squad, West Ham, because of injuries. Somerville might come in and Bowen might play up top. We'll see if Fulkrug can play 2 games in a week. He's only just got back into that team, so I don't think he'll start this one. So I just think with the fresh legs Liverpool will have, obviously they could start Jota and Diaz, who didn't start the other day, so they've got more depth at their disposal. Szoboszlai is out, so I guess that was an option that they were going to bring in this game that they don't have now. But they've still got enough. I mean, they could play Elliott, couldn't they? I mean, they've just got enough to freshen it up where I think they'll have far too much for West Ham in this game. I listened to West Ham fans post the weekend as well because I wanted to see how they played because obviously as a Bowen owner I was concerned and yeah, they weren't very impressed with the performance of Southampton and also talking about fatigue and they're expecting to get absolutely smashed here 3 or 4-0. Don't think it'll be that bad because again, just the turnaround in games for me means that I don't think we'll see loads of goals and teams going full tilt because of fatigue, but I've gone 2-0 and yeah, I think that'll be the least it'll be. Villa Brighton 3-1 for Az to Villa. He's really down on Brighton at the moment. I am too. I think Villa will win this game. I don't think they're in a great shape though, Villa. So I've gone 2-0, kept it low. Az has gone absolutely massive on this one. He thinks Chelsea are going to smash Ipswich. I think they win, but I think Ipswich are, like I say, looking to be a bit tighter at the back. They will take fewer chances, I think. I think they've still got life in them. Maybe Southampton haven't, but I think Ipswich have. And I don't think Chelsea are playing with the fluidity they were a few game weeks ago. I think they're going to rotate as well. I think we're going to see a different 11 for Chelsea. Jackson may well be benched. So I think that will mean that they won't be at full power. So I've gone 2-0, Az has gone big on the 4-0. Presumably then, Az, you're going Palmer captain, are you? I know that Az is in chat, so let's see if he confirms that. And then United, Newcastle, he's gone 1-1. I've gone Newcastle away win. I think at the moment, for me, Newcastle, I'm very glad I'm on Gordon. Obviously, Isak, we don't need to talk about him, but Newcastle over the last 6 are 5th in this table, 1.89. Over the season, I think they're lower down, 1.55. So their XG non-penalty per 90 has increased considerably. Isak is absolutely on fire. Amongst forwards, he is just by far and away the best option now. 1.23 XG non-penalty per 90 over the last 6 game weeks is absolutely filthy. I just don't see United dealing with it. I think Newcastle go there with confidence. They go there with a midfield that looks really strong, with a defence that at the moment is also strong. If you look at defences over the last 6, they're 4th here in this table, 1.11. You have to go down the table a little bit more to find United. So defensively, they haven't been bad, United, but I don't know. They didn't look great at Wolves, and I think they're up against a Newcastle team that are definitely on a positive trajectory with undoubtedly the most informed player in the Premier League at the moment in Isak. So I've gone 3-1. Az has gone 1-1. We've been kind to United there. And then finally, Brentford, Arsenal. I said earlier, I think Arsenal will keep it clean at the G-Tech. I think they'll be the next team to go there and frustrate Brentford. I've gone 2-0. Az has gone 3-1 Arsenal. Yeah. I don't know. With the defensive injuries, Arsenal could fill their boots, but I don't know what I saw against Ipswich made me think again it'll be difficult to break them down. I think Brentford will put up a decent defensive showing, but they'll get a goal early on and then catch Brentford on the break when Brentford have to come out. That would be my talk. That's my narrative of this game. So I've gone 2-0 there. Captaincy. I don't know if Az has confirmed whether he's captain Palmer. Again, apologies. It's very difficult for me to cover the chat while I'm chatting away as well. But it is close. I mean, statistically, in terms of the fixtures, Salah goes to West Ham, Palmer goes to Ipswich. Both away games, of course. The data is in Salah's favour, both over the season and the last 6 game weeks. He's obviously the stronger asset here. 1.26 XG on penalty per 90 compared to 0.85 on Palmer. But it's difficult to say, really. There wasn't anything between them in the last game week, in game week 18. I think Palmer won by a point, 2 points. And that could easily go the same this time out. The pessimism that the West Ham fans were talking about, the fact that they felt they were going to get absolutely tonked by Liverpool, makes me lean towards Salah. I do think Ipswich in front of their crowd will put up a bit more of a barrier than West Ham will. West Ham could be without Kilman, could be without Fabianski. Kilman's a big loss if he is out. They'll have to pay Mavropanos on Todibo, which isn't a partnership that has played together too often because Kilman's been a mainstay there. So that could be really disruptive. It'd be interesting to see if they play Wan-Bissaka out on the left and Soufal out on the right. If obviously Wan-Bissaka out on the left will mean he'll be up against Salah, which could be difficult for Salah. But he finds a way, doesn't he? And I do think that if I was backing either Liverpool or Chelsea to go big, as in to score 3 or 4 goals, I favour Liverpool over Chelsea because I do think that Maresca will rotate and I do think that could be disruptive and I do think that just gives Salah the edge for me. If we look at Rob T's graphic, the spread betting markets also just about favour Liverpool. 2.55 projected goals to Liverpool, 2.45 for Chelsea. And that reflects my feeling as well. I just think Liverpool are the most likely to edge it in terms of goals scored. And therefore, obviously Salah and Palmer are absolutely dominant as sources of points for their teams. I just give Salah the edge. So I'm going to go Salah. Effective ownership's not coming into it. I think that, yeah, this could be a week where you could tilt against it and go against the effective ownership in order to get an advantage. But I'm kind of I'm consolidating this game week because I've just made the 200k. I don't think I need to push yet. There's still plenty of time. Obviously, we've got chips and double game weeks and so on to come. So my plans to push with the captaincy and go against Salah kind of on ice for a bit because I've made up some ground in terms of rank, so I don't have to tilt yet. And I think just West Ham aren't in great shape, and although Ipswich are one of the promoted teams and defensively are poor, I don't think there's much in it. There isn't. If you look at the last 6 here, Ipswich 1.70 XG conceded on penalty per 90, West Ham 1.63, so very little in it there. In fact, West Ham are conceding more big chances per 90 than Ipswich. And I've seen it. I think Ipswich have just been a bit more pragmatic. I saw them at Forest at the City Ground and we didn't create too much against them. And again, Arsenal struggled to break them down. I don't think Ipswich are going to play free at the back again against Chelsea. But I just think generally, tactically, McKenna's got them a bit more solid than they started the season. Whereas West Ham have got Kilman out. And I just think Liverpool are a little bit more likely to go to 3 or 4 goals because I think Chelsea will rotate. So there you go. I've repeated myself. I often do. Apologies about that. But I'm going Salah. Is Salah due his once a season rest? Possibly. I just don't see it myself. I don't think Jota's ready. If Jota was ready to start, maybe. But I don't think he is. I don't think that we're seeing the minutes that Jota's getting escalate yet to the level where I think he's going to throw him in. Slot has said that he's almost ready to start, so he's hinted at that, I think. I don't see it for this one. Maybe game week 20, we could see that. Salah hasn't had his rest yet. Doesn't look like he needs it, though, does he, at the moment? And I think that, no, I just don't see it at West Ham. I think it's a tricky enough game where if he's going to bring in Diaz and possibly start Jota, then Salah for me is nailed on. So I just don't see it being in this game that it's going to come. But I mean, yeah, I hadn't really thought about it. I hadn't really thought about Salah being rested. It's been a long way from my mind, to be honest. Right, that's the predictions done. That's the captaincy done. I did say I'll talk about goalkeepers before I go because there could be people out there, obviously, with the double of Fabianski and Flecken. And if that is you, then, yeah, obviously very, very unfortunate to get 2 keeper injuries in a week. I do think Flecken could play, so let's not be too hasty on getting rid yet. But obviously I understand it that you don't want to go in without a goalkeeper and you don't want to run that risk. The table reveals Pickford at the top here, both over the last 6 and also, I believe, over the season now. No, he's second. Okay. So in terms of points per 90, 4.8 over the season, and it's 6 points per 90 over the last 6 game weeks. Pickford is my first choice. There's no question. And Pickford probably will be coming into my team in game week 21. I will hold Flecken probably in 20 and roll my transfer because he plays Southampton. And I think I can hold Flecken for that game or the Brentford keeper, whoever that may be. But then in 21, I probably will move and make a goalkeeper change. And at the moment, I have to favour Pickford because not only is he top of that table in terms of points per 90, he's also got some great fixtures. Game week 21 at home to Villa. He's got Spurs at home, Brighton away, Leicester at home, Palace away, United at home, Brentford away. Well, I mean, it's a great run. Right up to 30. Doesn't have a red fixture until 30. And in any game, as we've seen when he's played at the Emirates and got a clean sheet, for example, Everton can and will keep clean sheets. So I don't worry too much about fixtures, but when the fixtures are also in his favour, I think he's difficult to deny, really. Also, what's interesting here, if you look at the bonus per clean sheet, 1.33, that's ahead of other contenders. So in other words, when Everton keep a clean sheet, he's got an average of 1.33 bonus, which is pretty good. If you look at Sells, in contrast, so Sells has kept 3 clean sheets in this period, and apologies for the titles on the table. I should have updated those. But he's kept 3 clean sheets in the last 6 game weeks. But with those 3 clean sheets, he's only got 0.33 bonus, so he's got 1 bonus point out of those 3 clean sheets. And that's because the defenders for Forest have been contributing more. You've got Aina, who's very, very high on the BPS. You've got Milenkovic, who's a big threat from set pieces and has got 2 goals. Everton haven't really delivered that. Everton have got Ashley Young, but Tarkowski and Braithwaite haven't been that set piece threat yet. So I think Pickford, for me, has the advantage on Sells in terms of bonus. This table shows it. I don't know whether that's the same over the season. I think it is. Yeah, bonus per clean sheet, 1.43, where Sells is 1. So in other words, when Forest have kept the clean sheet, Sells has averaged 1 bonus point. When Everton have kept the clean sheet, Pickford has averaged 1.43. So he's got the advantage there, and I think that will continue. I just think that the Forest defence will continue to be a bigger goal threat than the Everton defence at set plays, and Aina's just a BPS monster. So I think that will be the case. And Everton, of course, I mean, I'll say it again, just don't have the attacking quality further up the field. With McNeil out, who else is getting bonus points for Everton? Whereas you look at Forest and they've got Chris Wood, who's a machine in terms of goals, and we know that forwards are getting more BPS when they score goals and shots on target and so on. They've also got Anderson and Gibbs-White, who are really strong in the BPS too, and Everton don't have players like that. So I favour Pickford if you can get to him at 4.9. And by the way, he's going up tonight to 5 million. Then I'd get to Pickford if you can. If you can't get to Pickford, Sells is the next best choice. If you can't get to Sells, with the fixtures that Henderson's got and the price at 4.4, then it's probably Henderson. So looking at those fixtures, obviously I wouldn't endorse having a double up with Munoz and Henderson under normal circumstances. I think Munoz would be enough to cover the Palace defence. But if you can't get to Sells, if you can't get to Pickford, it probably is Henderson for me. And he's also going up tonight as well, by the way, according to Live FPL. So get in sharpish if you are short on money. So that's the goalkeeper situation covered as well. I think I've covered Bruno. I think I've covered the forward situation as well. 900 of you watching. I've done almost an hour and I'm very dry, so I'm just going to have a quick drink. I don't know. Oh, there's some super chats, so I should get to them. Thank you very much for your super chats. So let me look through these now. I think a lot of these are just some nice comments. I think let's go back to the start screen. Malachi Fox, thank you very much for your super chat. Feeling frisky this game week and giving Foden the armband. Really? Oh, okay. I mean, I've gone 2-1 City. What did Az say for that game? Did he go bigger than that? No, he went 2-1 as well. Foden, I don't know. Okay, he's in this table. He's 23rd over the last 6 game weeks, 0.46, 0.47. Over the season, he's been disappointing. Does he even figure in the top 30? Yes, he does, 15th, 0.60. So his XGI non-penalty per 90 is actually down on his season average over the last 6 game weeks. That is a real punt if you're doing that, Malachi. Hats off to you. And I guess it's a week where you think Salah and Palmer away from home may not deliver. And if you're trying to make up ground, I see it. Leicester certainly are a team that are going to give up more chances than most. It's just what we expect from City, though. Can we expect a free-form attacking performance from Guardiola's side? I just don't see it. I just think they're stalling, they're stuttering. I don't think it's there for Foden, but good luck to you. I hope it comes off for you. I admire the maverick attitude there. Nathan Williston, small at the back is the way forward. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I just think the gap between the Arsenal defence and the rest is massive, which makes me want to hang on to those two, as I've said earlier. And then Trent, for me, because we got the money from Saka, I just think Trent, for me, is a luxury we can afford to have in this spell. I think ordinarily, if we had Saka was fit and we didn't have the money for Trent, I would be having a defence of possibly the 2 Arsenal, and then I probably would have Munoz, Hall and Kirkez, or Munoz, Hall and whatever, probably a Forest defender, probably a Milenkovic. So I wouldn't be as big at the back as I am, but I think in this current landscape with Saka out, Trent is a luxury we can afford to have, and he's worth it because I think that the fixtures that Liverpool have got long term, he could be someone we hold on to. West Ham United, Forest, Brentford, Ipswich, Bournemouth, Wolves. There might not be too many clean sheets there because Liverpool's defence isn't as reliable as Arsenal's. The data backs that up. But, you know, we know what Trent's got in him. He has got a big score in him. I think even in the game at the weekend, he was very casual. I didn't think he played well. But even then, he could have got a couple of assists. I think Salah hit the bar with an effort that he set up. Yeah, he's a luxury that I don't mind holding for now. But I do agree with you. I think, you know, maybe when Saka's back, whenever that will be, or maybe when we need more money, there's no doubt Trent will be the one that I will look to get rid of. I think I'm going to hold the two Arsenal, though. I think, as I said, that gap between them and the rest of the defence is so big. And I think without Saka, Arteta perhaps could go one or two ways. It could be that they have to be more enterprising, take more risk and concede more goals. Or it could be that they try and win games 1 or 2-0 and be more results driven. We don't know yet. We've only seen one game. I can't jump to any conclusions yet. It could go either way. So I'm going to watch the Brentford and Brighton games with a lot of interest to see what we see from Arsenal defensively and in attacking terms, to see if they are more open. Just at the moment, the data suggests I've got to hold Timber and Gabriel, but Timber could make way if I do see them being more open. You can't judge anything. I mean, that Ipswich game was, I don't think you can take anything from it, because Ipswich turned out 3 at the back, low block, which I didn't expect. Arsenal struggled to break them down. Ipswich didn't create too much. The next two fixtures, Brentford and I think it's Brighton, isn't it? Yeah, Brentford and Brighton. I think we're going to learn a lot over these next two. And it could be, you're right, Nathan, that we do end up just going down to one Arsenal defender if we see Arteta being forced to be more enterprising and attacking. It could be that he has to play one holding midfielder, so he just plays Rice and he plays Havertz, Odegaard and Jesus. But we don't know yet. For all we know, Partey could come back in and Jesus and Havertz could make way. So we have to see. We don't know enough yet, and the Ipswich game, just for me, just wasn't a good indicator of what we can expect. Sonny, thank you very much for your super chat, saying Foden for Bruno. Yeah, another Foden. I mean, okay. I'm not feeling it. I much prefer going Saar and having the money. But obviously we know what Foden's capable of. And I guess he's a player, I guess, you know, much like, the kind of profile of player that I like, player that perhaps hasn't performed very well yet, hasn't exploded yet. This is why I got Anthony Gordon in, because I felt that he was on the cusp of rediscovering the form that got him 27 goal involvements last season. And maybe Foden's on the verge of that as well. Maybe Foden can step up because, you know, we know what he's capable of. The fixtures are a lot better now for City. It's just, I just don't see City's form there. Leicester, West Ham, Brentford, Ipswich. Those four, ordinarily, you'd back City to score hatfuls of goals in those games. Sitting here now, based on what I saw against Everton, I don't know if I can feel that way. But there's no question, if you're trying to make up ground, going Foden and tilting to that extent with the Bruno money, it's viable. It's definitely viable. I just think Saar is the better route, and then you can do more of that money that you can spend elsewhere. But I get it. Let's go to John Little's super chat. Right. Thank you very much, John. Forgot to play my wild card, so got to play it. Current team: Raya, Mikalenko, Aina, Munoz, Robinson, Palmer, Salah, Rogers, Ahmad, Isak, Jackson, Kuna. So I guess your only thing with Kuna is obviously you're probably booking in a transfer there. Robinson was the other defender, other than Forrest, that you could look at in that bracket if you weren't going big at the back. Raya, Mikalenko, Aina, Munoz, Robinson. So I guess he's just covering the Arsenal defence with Raya. Fair enough. I get it with the fixtures that they got. And like I said, they could be more open. So I think that's a solid defence. Nothing wrong with that as well with the Everton fixtures to have Mikalenko, Aina, Munoz, Robinson, all solid, very strong. Palmer, Salah, Rogers, Ahmad. I guess the question mark I would say would be Ahmad. I don't know. For me, I think it's just United. I struggle really to recommend them. But with the fixtures they got, you'd think you'd get something out of Ahmad. So I don't mind that. I think I would go Saar over Ahmad, though. If you can stretch the Saar, I think I would do that. And then Isak, Jackson, Kuna. I mean, Jackson, I think Jackson could get rested at Ipswich, and Kuna's got the ban. So just have that in mind. Have your transfer ready for your replacement for Kuna. I don't know what you've got in the bank, John, to replace Kuna, but I imagine you're going to need to replace him for quite a while, because I think he's going to get multiple matches. I would be in the realms of 3 or 4 matches that he'll miss. We'll yet to see, but as long as you're prepared for that, that looks a good lineup. I wouldn't have Jackson for game week 19. I think he could get rested, and I would go Sarr over Ahmad as well, because I just think the fixture's better. So that's what I would do there. And then Simon, thank you very much for your super chat, Simon, and all your support. Isak has 0 goals in 6 games against United, and Palace only have 7 goals at home all season, Mark. Does that change your mind on either? As I said, I don't think Palace will go big. I've gone 1-0 and Az has gone 3-0. But I just think it's long term. I don't. I mean, Isak's record against United, that doesn't factor in for me. I'm not really a big fan of those. And I know they often come true and often go, oh yeah, he always scores against this team or he never scores against that team. I don't think that's a crumb of comfort to United supporters going into this game. I think they're going to fear Isak, and I would back him to score. I think Newcastle are going to win this game. I've backed them for a 3-1 win. I think he returns again. Palace only have 7 goals. Yes, as I said, I think they win the game just. I think it's going to be more difficult than we expect. So when I'm backing Sarr Mateta, it's more for the long term than necessarily for Southampton. But of course, that Southampton fixture, if we look at the spread betting odds again, it could blow up. It's interesting, isn't it, though, that they're only the 5th? Yeah, the 5th highest here. So City, Spurs, Liverpool, Chelsea and Arsenal are all tipped for a higher number of goals than Palace at the moment, even though Palace are at home to Southampton and we see Southampton as a whipping boy. I don't see it like that. I like the bookies. I think it'll be a tougher game than we expect, and I don't think it'll be a goal fest. So I agree, Tom. It doesn't put me off, though. I still think Mateta's a good long-term option. Watkins in the short term, Mateta for the long term would be the way I go if I wanted to make a forward transfer. But it could all change. If Jesus delivers and he doesn't get the booking, then I think Jesus is going to pick up more traffic. I hope he does, obviously, because I need him to, because I'm down on the deal, getting rid of Kuna. Thank you very much for all the super chats and everyone watching. We've gone to 960, which is absolutely crazy on a Saturday night. Yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this stream, and hit the subscribe if you're new to BlackBox. Hit the like if you've enjoyed it. I've done an hour again. I think I'm all out of talking. Sorry if I missed your questions. It is very tricky, but I will have Az back alongside me soon, and he can help me with picking out more questions and super chats. I will probably do another one of these ahead of game week 20, though, if Az isn't back. I'll find out if he can make it. If not, you'll see me again, and I'll do another hour, and I'll try and answer more of your questions. Maybe I'll get some questions up front. Hopefully I've hit the main topics, though, tonight, and by talking through my team, hopefully I've helped you out a little bit as well. Thank you as always for your support. Hit the likes, hit the subscribes, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.